Do you find yourself apologizing for being who you are? Today we're talking about self-acceptance and being okay with who you are. Natalie shares her story of not feeling good enough and how she looked for validation through others. She says give yourself grace and give yourself the compliments you wish others would. So please stick around and enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Tea. I'm your host, Tanya Tyler, and I'm excited because today is the Happy New Year edition. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
It's Natalie Reader who's on the other line over here, and we're going to talk to you about how to stop apologizing. But before we get into this, tell me, Miss Natalie, how was 2020 for you?
Let's just say, like most people, let's just forget it and move on. We got through it and we're here to talk about it, and let's just make a brand new year. So Happy New Year couldn't have come fast enough. I heard an analogy once. Can't we just unplug it and plug it back in like we sometimes do to our computers or servers when they don't want to go right? So I thought
yes,
that would have been good.
Like we just had to do with this video recording.
Yeah. But it's a new year and a new start, and off we go. So yes.
Yes. So I'm it's a pleasure to have you on. Like I said, we had a little technical difficulty, but like I said, it's the joy of the journey along the way. So thank you for coming on this ride there, Miss Natalie, because it's been fun.
I've been looking forward to this. So this is great to be here with you.
So yeah, for those who don't know, your company is called A Niche of Nature, correct?
Correct.
And for those who really would like to get to know about what you do and stuff like that, would you care to share like how you got started and what is it that you do?
Okay, so education was my I want to be what I want to be when I grow up, was a teacher. So I taught for a number of years as an early childhood intervention specialist, director, administrator, so had many hats in that, and art minor, so I always loved the arts that way. But as things change and career paths kind of take down different, I guess you could say a different course or a different trail, teaching in the classroom was not there anymore. And so I still love teaching. I love seeing that aha moment when people learn something new. So as I began a journey of outdoor education for children, that was still something I still do and love that. So out of that, you can't be outdoors, you can't enjoy nature without understanding all of the aspects, which rolls into the elements of health and wellness. And obviously our last year was super focused, lasered on health and wellness and how do we and all this, and just have really enjoyed getting to know what that means. I've always been conscientious about it, but decided people don't have enough information to make the best decision. And so my drive for the Niche of Nature was, people were like, you need to pick one thing. But I'm like, no, I help people with their niche. And so part of the name was created out of, I don't have a niche, but it's in the niches of nature. I'm either helping children with learning about learning in outdoors, but it's also helping people with their niche of their health and wellness. And so I bring a spectrum of support for that. Became a certified health coach, holistic health coach during 2020. Also graduated in December with the certification as an certified aromatherapist. So again, credentialed myself in that professional practice. That's always important to me. About, sure, we can talk about things all day long, but if I really want you to find value in me, I need to do the homework, and I need to do the labeling or branding that goes along with the integrity markers that are very important to me. And so having that holistic health coaching brought in the health and wellness aspects and the content, and then the certified aromatherapy is just another aspect of helping with that wellness using some of those natural and holistic approaches. So this is the kickoff to starting this over, in the sense of I had a good plan for 20, but other things had a different plan instead. So that's what brought me to here. So love the education, love classes, and helping people understand more so they can be more empowered to make better decisions for themselves and their family. So if I can impart that upon people, give them solutions and choices and strategies, then I've given to them the ability for them to take charge of those aspects that they're looking to do in their world.
Right, right. Well, I thank you for that intro. And like I said, I'm an avid nature lover. So, I know we can learn a lot from nature, and I love how you tie it all into, the spectrum. So kudos to you there, Miss Natalie. Well, really, we got onto this subject because I always do like a discovery call. We always talk about like, what can we like educate or talk about or inform? And so you were sharing with me a very near and dear story, and you don't have to dive as deep as, go as, how far you want to go comfortable. But we were talking about stop apologizing and be, accepting who you are. And how did this subject really become near and dear to you?
A couple of years ago, a couple of years ago was, I guess you could say, a pivotal event to that, was taking care of my mother, who succumbed to an illness, and was there to take care of her, things like that. Unfortunately, ours was a story where other family members did not follow the same support. And when she passed, unfortunately, which was we'll keep it short there. There were a lot of things that came to mind to me. And looking back and realizing, I always want to make people happy. I tend to be, I wouldn't say a people pleaser, because I'm not going to do things that go outside of my values or my values or my principles. But I realized I was spending so much time taking care of other people. Obviously, I want to take care of my family and my parents, but I also realized that in so doing, I was sacrificing the things that were important to me, things that, if you do that long enough to anything, you're going to have deficiencies and problems. So much like the things I was learning in the health, realizing, oh yeah, I guess I haven't been doing that. Or, oh, you mean I didn't have to say yes, or it's okay to say no, or that I spent a lot of time defending myself, because as things were revealed, I realized I had kind of grown up in a pattern of, you weren't quite good enough. So as I continued and tried hard, do your best, and heard those words, what I didn't hear was the validation of, good is good enough. You're doing your best. You're trying hard. I mean, fortunately, my children have turned out fine. So obviously it's not in my messaging. But I learned that I spent so much time trying to get people to like me, to believe in me, in the fact that it wasn't a natural part of me. And over this time, in the last, 6 months or so, realized I need to find out who I am. And it's okay if you don't like me, because that's your loss, and I don't say it in an arrogant way. It's like, I like who I am, and I'm going to find people who support that, and I can support them. I know I work hard. Heck, we all have mistakes. This side of heaven, we're not going to get it all right. But at the same time, realizing I need to be, for me, myself, kind of that half full, half empty. I was always running on the reserves of half empty. But if I'm half full, I'm already contributing. I'm already being a better person to myself. I will do my best to be kind and helpful to other people, but there's going to be a point where they're like, that's not my people. That's okay.
Right.
But stick who I love to be, and be okay with that, and not have to apologize that I'm not something someone expects. In a job, it's a little different, and you either accept the job or not, if you can meet those responsibilities. But in relationships, we're going to agree to disagree. We're going to have places that we're alike and different, but I'm not going to apologize for the things I love or the things that make me who I am. If they're hurting somebody, obviously I will be the first one to call myself out on that. But in general, I want to just love and be loved, and not have to be convincing somebody I'm worth it, or apologizing if I'm not rich or famous or skinny or whatever, or
Right.
famous,
Right.
So I think that's, without getting belaboring on this one, but I think that was a huge part, was I spent too much time trying to convince people that I was worth it, because I didn't have enough belief in myself that you are enough.
Right,
And once I could get to that point, sure, I have things I wish I could have done differently or gotten to a different milestone or place in the game, but I got to be where I am and like
right.
that.
What steps did you take within yourself, or are you still taking to really get out of that apologizing mode? You know, I mean, we all slip into it. So, but I mean, it's always a conscious. What helps you bring that to the forefront when you think of it?
As a teacher, I was always great about bringing those little caveats to my students of things that affirmed them, made them reach for their potential. I practiced everything, but did not practice it on my own. You know, I worked it well for others, but forgot to go, oh yeah, I guess I could follow that too. So it was taking to mind, a lot of it is right here. You know, people can overcome some of the most drastic situations that are not good for them. And though I wasn't in an abused or, you know, addiction kind of situation, it still had that remnant. It was a learned way, and I had to find a way to break from that. But the thing I needed to do was talk to myself, and did a lot of work with Deb Erickson's mindfulness and mindset, kind of resetting things that, oh yeah, I knew that. Well, then say it loud, you know, sing it from the mountaintops and believe it. Don't just say it, but believe it. And then again, putting things in my life or removing things from my life that were getting in the way of being able to be who I was. You know, something as simple as giving away a bedspread that somebody gave to me because they didn't need it anymore, instead of going, that's not my color, that's not the design I want, you know, that's kind of a graphic design with that, but the idea of find those things that keep you from being yourself and realize that it's okay to change. But then having to put things in life, like getting up at a very specific time, getting into my devotions, setting my goal for the day, whether I was working from home or out on errands, you know, get up, get dressed, get cute was something, you know, one of our coaches has often shared, like, get up and be, you know, and
Right.
Once you get yourself into that and have focuses and have goals, you can reach them. You have a lot more energy that goes into them as well.
So. Right. So I love your message and stuff like that. So what's the one, I know, I think you touched on it, that we don't hear it for ourselves, but what's one thing that can help you bring it to the forefront when you start to feel like you're getting too apologetic for something that's really nothing you can control?
Right.
You know, it's not you. It's just,
right.
You know, a lot of people say, oh, I'm sorry. And you'd be like, why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think when I get into those, just like even today, I've caught myself, there's things like, yeah, I could go on and on, but that was also something of my things to change is I became a very verbose person. Like people were like, oh my gosh, she's just started talking. You know, I do know how to stop, but at the same time, I felt like I had to keep filling the space. So
That's a good one.
The first thing to do is just stop. Sometimes you have to pull back either out of a situation or even just kind of maybe systematically or symbolically pulling out of a conversation to just kind of reframe yourself a little bit. It's kind of like there's the person who has the freedom, and then there's the person who has a lot of your guards going on in you. And those are the two parts of the way your brain works. And reminding that, like, yeah, I got the framework, but now let me go so I can go do what I like to do, you know, and let me be me. So that's a good point there. Sometimes it's even just removing myself from a situation. There was a situation I worked for someone and did a great job, had a lot of accolades, so it felt really good, but somebody in charge didn't think I needed to be that way because they didn't think they could push me around anymore. And I'm like, you don't need to push me. But then I realized it wasn't about me. It was how they were. And so it's also identifying situations that, yeah, I know I could do that, but the dynamics of that situation would constantly put me right back into that same thing. Like, you're not good enough, I'm in charge, even though it was somebody else's, you know, their own temperament of things. So it's also evaluating what situations I'm going to put myself in, that if it's going to put me at the mercy of someone else, then I'm going to be at a battle, or that's going to put me right back into old ways.
Right. Right.
Let me just be compliant, and then I've just shut myself down.
So it's like basically you're I always like to say you're building up your awareness points, because like I said, once you're aware of it, it's not like people smoke a cigarette, you can't put the smoke back in the cigarette once you light it. So it's like,
right, exactly,
you're on fire now. You cannot say you didn't know, or
right.
Your conscience is like, hey, Natalie, we don't do that anymore.
Right.
So
It's like that. There's a song. Danny Goki sings a song that I don't live. You don't live there anymore, or let your heart begin again is what it is. But even though his was at the loss of a daughter, and the mournfulness and that emptiness of how do I go on, it's that point of you don't live there anymore. And those words at the time were very good to me, in the sense that, in that same way, I need to let that old way die and be done, and know that it had its purpose, it had its time, but I don't live there anymore. And I need to move beyond it and be, serve it and honor it, that, okay, yeah, that was me, but I need to be something else, and move beyond it. And, let your heart begin again, find that joy and find that excitement that you have.
So, Miss Natalie, we're getting close to the end, and I got like 2 key questions for you. It's like, what advice would you give somebody who's realizing, hey, I'm like Natalie, and I do apologize a lot. What would you say to them?
I would say in time to themselves, where they tend, a lot of this has to be done on your own time, so that when you are in those people situations and whatever, you have your strength. Take the time to, write yourself a letter. Even write yourself a letter, like you are just telling yourself all the things you love. You are so good. Like if I'd write it to you, it's like, dear Tanya, I love your smile. I just love, anything you can think of that you love about yourself. Write that to yourself. Give yourself the compliments that you'd like to get, or if somebody forgets to give you affirmation or confirmation, and then read that to yourself. Remind yourself of the things you are good at. Do the things that really fortify those in you. Maybe it's changing a hairstyle. They don't have to go anything drastic, but do something that goes, that's me, and confirms that. And then practice yourself. Give yourself a lot of grace that when you're in those situations, it doesn't happen overnight. Simply just stopping talking sometimes, or stopping yourself from saying, oh, I'm sorry. Say something like, I guess I could see how you'd feel that way. Take the I'm sorry and turn it into something like, oh, that's a good way to look at it. Or, I hadn't thought about that. Because in that same way, it lets them have an opinion and it lets you have yours, but nobody's apologizing for either. And then that kind of gives you strength, going, well, good. Because the more we apologize, the more people will give us things that we don't deserve.
Well, I love that. I love that note. So I know we're wrapping up the end of this 20-minute segment, but where can people find more information about you, your services, and what you do? So
the website's not quite up yet. It's trying to be a landing page, because of course the niche of nature is all my niches. But my email is simply that, a niche of nature, niche spelled with N-I-C-H-E, a niche of nature @gmail.com. I do have a Facebook page called A Niche of Nature. That's another place that they can kind of check things out. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever. Different people use different platforms, and I will definitely reach out, and I'll definitely put out there, and you'll see on those platforms when that website's going to be up and running. So then you'll have a place you can go in and see the different things, from nature's education to wellness, the coaching, and how to use all the different supports in that holistic approach to health and wellness.
Well, thank you, Miss Natalie, and I appreciate you sharing your journey story with us.
Thanks. I hope it wasn't too sober here. Sometimes I get in my groove, and then it's like, oh, you stopped smiling. So I love to have fun.
What did we?
I apologize, didn't I?
What did we just talk about?
Oh my! But you're right. But see, there again, I'm still learning. We became very visual. Like I may get all nice and dressed, but I'm thinking my face is saying something, and then I look at recordings, going, oh, I need to work on that. So that is still a work in progress.
That's an awareness point. That's why that's why checkpoint, awareness point. So
you got me. Yep.
I want to say thank you for your sharing your message. And I want to close out with saying that feedback is always welcome. Email us if you have any guest or show ideas. Links to all of the sites that Natalie mentioned will be posted in the comments. Thank you for listening. And if you're enjoying us, please give us a thumbs up. And like I said, follow up with a comment. I could always follow up with Natalie. And as we go into this new year, kicking it forward into, and you're enjoying the insights that everyone is sharing, please consider hitting that subscribe button over there. And remember, take things in stride, go with the flow, and create your own path. And we'll see you back here because it's a new year, new you. So happy New Year.
See you later. Bye.
Share with us. What was one of your takeaways from today's show? Post your answers on our Facebook page. Hi everyone, this is Tanya again, popping in to say thank you for listening to today's show. Coffee with Tea interviews are always free, and if you're enjoying the wisdom and insights that are being shared, please stay and grow with us and show your financial support. You can buy us coffee or become a monthly supporter. Links are posted in the description box. And again, I wanted to personally say thank you for tuning in.